after they took out the appendix, I was in this hospital, this local memorial hospital for a few days, and they were like, "We're not qualified to treat her." So they sent me to Indianapolis for to Riley Hospital for Children, which is an amazing hospital. When I went there, it was good, and it's gotten better over the years. And they were like, "Okay, she has this cancer." Um, it was a type of sarcoma that started growing with me from the time I was born. So that tumor was growing as I was growing. And no one knew because I was healthy and happy and playing. And so for 5.5 years, I was in and out of the hospital. They did chemo. I had to have more surgeries than I can count. Um, and it was a tough time. I didn't really understand what was going on. I just knew that I couldn't go to school like regular kids and be around regular kids. And it was awful because on the rare times where I could go to school, I had to be kept separate because I was immunocompromised. It was like a boy in the plastic bubble situation. I never really got to be close to any other children because they were so scared I would get sick.
Kind of like
And
Bubble Boy.
mhm. And I'll never forget this teacher. I had a teacher that made me cry because when you have cancer, your hair falls out. And I wore a lot of hats. And one of the teachers didn't know that I was allowed to wear hats. And so she came and made me take my hat off. And school in the 90s, I know you
Mm,
know.
yeah,
In elementary school in the 90s, we all went to the gym and we had
yep.
our little reading circle that we had to go find, whatever your reading circle number is or whatever. And so in the middle of the gym, the teacher confiscated my hat. And I remember all of the kids laughing because I didn't have hair. And it was horrifying. Like thinking about it even as an adult to
Yeah.
have to face that at only like 6 years old, it was really, really traumatic. And so after that incident, most of my schooling took place in the hospital in my room. I had a tutor. She would come tutor me. I would take tests. It was like doing Penn Foster before they had Penn Foster. And
Dang.
that was most of my elementary school was spent in the hospital. I want to say maybe fifth grade. I was able to go to school for all of fifth grade without being hospitalized. I went into remission when I was 11 years old. They officially told me I was in remission. But even in remission, I still had to go to the hospital and get tested and all the things. And they told me if the cancer doesn't come back within 5 years, you're good. So I went into remission when I was 11, but I still went every year to make sure the cancer didn't come back. Um, and so that was a big part of my childhood. The other big part of my childhood was developing glaucoma because of all the steroids that they were giving me during chemo. And I ended up finding out later in life that the doctors told my family, hey, she's starting to develop her cataracts again. Should we remove them? And my family was like, no, she's had too many surgeries. Don't give her another surgery. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I was told that maybe if they would have done the surgery at that time, I would have not developed glaucoma later on in life. But, who's to say whether or not, like, only God knows. So they didn't take out my cataracts. And so when I finally was able to go back to school, I was trying to read the projector in class. My teacher asked me to read something off the projector and I couldn't read it. And she didn't believe me. And so she sent me home with a disciplinary slip and was like,
That's
Michelle
messed up.
refused to participate in class or whatever. And so then they had to pull me into this IEP meeting and say, you know, we knew that something could happen with her vision. Like this isn't something that she's faking. So then I went from all kinds of cancer surgeries to all kinds of eye surgeries to try to protect my vision. Because when you get diagnosed with glaucoma, normally you're older. And with glaucoma, you lose your vision within about 20 to 25 years of being diagnosed with it. So if you get diagnosed in your 50s, you're still good until you're old. But when you get diagnosed as an adolescent, you lose your vision in your 30s, and it's very, very scary. So I grew up knowing that someday I would lose my vision. And
I'm you just kind of scared me because I'm a hit on this later on. I'm putting a note in right now to tell you.
Mhm.
Go ahead, continue.
Hold on, let me get a sip of water. So that was
Drink
scary to
water and mind my business.
that was really scary to grow up knowing that I would go blind someday. And once again, I was different. You know, they sent a woman to my school. Her name was Miss Davidson, and I loved her. She taught me Braille. She made sure I had large print books. She made sure I had all the things I needed to be successful. But at the same time, no kid wants to hang around a kid who basically has a teacher attached to their hip. So it was very, very isolating. And kids in the 90s will pick on you. And they pick on what they don't understand. So at school, I got picked on a lot. And then at home, I was almost resented by my siblings and my family because they felt like I got a lot of attention. And it's not like I got attention that I wanted. I got attention because of things that I had to go through. So I was a very, very lonely kid. And that's when I started writing, and that's when I started journaling. And I'll never forget when Nickelodeon released The Fairly Odd Parents. I said, one day I'm gonna have godparents, and all this stuff that's happened to me isn't gonna be a thing. And so when I would write, those would be the things that I would write about as a kid. Was one day I would wish that my vision was good and that I had people to play with and all the things that you don't really think about when you're a kid because they're so natural. I didn't get to have those
Yeah.
experiences, you know? Um, Eventually I made a friend,
Hmm.
like a friend. Her name is Destiny, and we're actually still friends to this day.
Hey.
Yeah, we are still friends to this day. But she was my first friend, and she was my only friend until like seventh grade. And then in the midst of all this, too, my mom and my grandfather were fighting over custody of me. Because between the vision and the cancer, I qualified for benefits like supplemental security and things like that. And my mom wanted me to live with her because I was her daughter. My grandfather wanted me to live with him because of the money. And he told me that I had cancer because my mom did drugs. And I grew up not liking my own mom until I found out that that wasn't true. Like, it was so toxic. It was such a toxic situation, and as a kid, I was trapped in the middle of it, and the only reason that my mom was able to get custody of me again was because my grandpa didn't want my siblings, and so I got a guardian ad litem assigned to me, and a guardian ad litem speaks for the child in court. So I got this guardian ad litem, and he explained to me as best as he could what was happening. And by this time, like, I was a very advanced kid. All I did was read books and go to the hospital. Like, I was able to advocate for myself. I probably knew more about medicine than most people. Like, I really understood what was happening. And so I told him one day, I said, I don't understand why my grandpa wants to keep me from my brothers. And he says to me, "You have brothers?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, that's not anywhere in these court documents that you have siblings. Because my grandpa's whole thing was he tried to say I wasn't safe with my mom. And my
Wait,
mom,
so in court they hid that you have relatives?
no, my grandpa hid that I had
Oh,
relatives.
okay,
It
okay,
came out in court.
okay.
Like at one of the hearings, it came out that I have because my guardian asked me like, why do you want to? And I was like, I want to know my brothers. And so we ended up finding out that my grandfather, um, he hired this crooked lawyer, but whose last name legitimately was Crook with the e at the end,
Yeah,
and
that's textbook funny.
I know. And so he hired this lawyer, and basically, since my mom, in order for my grandpa to take me to my doctor's appointments, he had partial custody of me, and so did she. He never ever had full custody of me, but he tried to make it seem like he was protecting me from a bad situation and that his daughter, I mean his actual daughter, was unfit. It was crazy. And this court hearing lasted, or this court case went on from the time I was 11 to the time that I was 15. So I if you go back, I'm going to go back with you.
Okay.
So I here we are. All right? I was born, I lived with my mom till I was 5. Had
Mhm.
cancer, dealt with cancer from age 5 to age 11. Now, at age 11, I'm back and forth in court until I'm 15. So
Jesus, Ray.
then, yeah, and that's and that's only the first half of my life, literally.
Hey, beautiful souls. If you love deep conversations about life, love, and spiritual growth, help us reach more like minded people. Like, comment, and share to push these powerful episodes through the algorithm. Let's build a community that thrives on wisdom and connection. Find us everywhere: YouTube at Donley_Divine, Facebook and Kick at Divine Time Podcast, and also follow the blog, divinetime.blog. If you're looking for your soul tribe, join our Telegram group, Warriors of Love. Together we rise. Divine time is now.